Hi, I'm Ty Devereaux of Stone Lone Wolf Publishing and one of the founders of the Energy Exchange and the Energy Exchange University. There is a misunderstanding that sits beneath most ambition, quiet but decisive. We've been taught that progress is a function of control, so we reach for more of it. We try to manage outcomes, control people, shape perception, and force timing. And in doing so, we exhaust ourselves chasing variables that were never ours. The error is not in effort. The error is in misidentification. Control was never meant to expand outward. It was meant to concentrate inward. The Stoics taught us this long before performance became theater, before algorithms began shaping behavior. They understood that control is not domination, it is discipline. Not the discipline of action alone, but the discipline of distinction. What is yours? What is not? Because when those categories collapse, confusion begins. The energy exchange was built to correct that confusion, not as a philosophy of power, but as a system of placement, where control actually exists, where it ends, and how it moves. Life does not operate in isolated events, it operates in exchanges. Every moment is transactional, even when it appears passive. You give time, you receive outcomes. You invest attention, you shape direction. You absorb information, you alter position. This exchange never stops. The question is not whether you're participating, because you are. The question is whether your participation is directed or meandering. Most of us do not lack effort, we lack placement. We exhaust ourselves, forcing outcomes that require consent from others, while neglecting the domains that are fully within their control. Discipline, interpretation, consistency, realignment. This is where the illusion of power collapses, because expenditure is mistaken for control, movement is mistaken for progress, and reaction is mistaken for a strategy. The energy exchange does not eliminate this movement, it reveals the underlying structure. It proves that movement in random directions should not be mistaken for progression. Control does not exist everywhere, it concentrates. And where it concentrates, it expresses itself through four currencies: time, relationships, information, and money. Not as abstractions, but as mediums of movement. Time is not productivity, it is an allocation. Where it goes determine what will grow. Relationships are not emotional proximity, they are access. Access to people, to rooms, to opportunities that do not exist in isolation. Information is not knowledge, it's timing. It is knowing what matters, when, and before it becomes obvious to everyone else. And money is not the foundation, it is the amplifier. It does not create discipline, it reveals it. These currencies are not separate, they're in constant conversion. Time becomes relationships, relationships produce information, information creates opportunity, money accelerates the cycle, and the exchange continues. Most people approach these currencies incorrectly. They attempt to accumulate rather than allocate. More time, more money, more connections, more information. But control is not found in volume, it's found in precision. Knowing where to invest works with a draw and where not to engage at all. Because not every opportunity deserves participation. Not every relationship deserves maintenance. Not every piece of information deserves attention. Discipline at this level is subtraction, doing less with greater accuracy. Because every misallocation compounds quietly, consistently, until what appears to be external limitation is actually internal mismanagement. If currencies define where control exists, constraints define where it stops. This is where most systems collapse because they are built on expansion without context. They assume more effort always produces more outcome. It does not. Constraints are not interruptions, they are a part of the structure. Economic systems, legal frameworks, access, geography, these are not obstacles you remove, they are conditions you navigate. And more importantly, the most decisive constraints are not external, they're internal. Impatience, ego, the need for validation, emotional reactivity. These are not personality traits, they're leaks, and leaks compound. And so the system is blind for whatever was never external to begin with. There is another constraint, one that we often misunderstand. It's timing, not as a currency, but as a condition. Everything operates within a window. Too early, and it fails to land. Too late, and it no longer matters. We understand effort. We do not always comprehend the importance of timing. We push when patience is required. We hesitate when movement is necessary. We mistake activity for alignment. Control at this level is about rhythm, knowing when to move and when to hold, when to disengage entirely, because not every opportunity is meant to be captured. Some are meant to be passed.
Mhm.
We have learned currencies define what you have, constraints define what you face, but neither explains outcome because possession is not performance. This is where system becomes personal. Two individuals, same resources, same constraints, different results. The difference is in execution. Within the energy exchange, this is called alchemy, the ability to take identical inputs and produce differentiated outcomes. This is not about personality, it's about calibration, emotional control over reaction, clarity over noise, precision over force, the ability to remain centered without becoming static, adaptive without becoming reactive. This is where most break, too rigid or too scattered. Both produce inefficiency. The alchemist operates differently, measured, selective, and accurate. Up to this point, we haven't been discussing the philosophy. We have been sharing a structure, currencies, constraints, traits, not as isolated ideas, but as a system in motion. The energy exchange is not built for observation, it's built for operation. Because once you see the system, you cannot unsee it. And once you understand, you no longer move the same way within it. I'm Ty Devereaux, founder of Stone Lone Wolf Publishing. This work lives at the intersection of systems, economics, and control. If you want the full framework, the full breakdown, read the complete article on Substack, tydevereaux.substack.com. For continued analysis, subscribe to the Energy Exchange on YouTube and join the conversation in the Energy Exchange Facebook group. Because the goal is not to consume information, it's to understand the system well enough to move within it with intention. I appreciate you listening.